A very good afternoon to you on this lovely summer June afternoon. Um, this vlog's about zone focusing and hyperfocal distance focusing. Something that's incredibly easy to do, but seemingly quite difficult to explain. So I'm going to use a couple of visual aids to help me through this. This is just my version of this subject matter: zone focusing and hyperfocal distance focusing. They're both very, very similar. The difference is kind of that much of a movement on your focusing ring, literally most of the time. What is zone focusing, hyperfocal distance focusing, other than a mouthful? It's just a way of turning your manual camera, your manual lens, into a very simple point and shoot. You don't need to focus. Just lift it up. You can use it one-handed. Bang. You basically just turn a few levers, get your lens to where you need it to be. It's called presetting. And then when you lift the camera, everything's good. Now, when can you use it? You can use it, I would say, with wide angle lenses and when there's plenty of light. So, for example, London, summer day or sunny day, ISO 400 on a film camera, ISO 400, let's say HP5, 35mm lens, f11, aperture f11, and I would say probably between 250 and 500th of a shutter speed, will be good for anything from 6 feet to infinity. So anything 6 feet away from your camera to infinity will be in focus. Now, when I say a summer's day, a London summer's day, a London summer's day is different to a Dubai summer's day. So the settings would be slightly different, but it's the same procedure regardless. It's the same procedure, more or less. If it's digital, you can perform it on a digital camera as well. In fact, it probably works best with a digital camera, because you can automatically, or set your ISO to automatic. So if the sun goes in, your ISO will just quietly in the background change and compensate for the change of sun. So you almost have to do nothing. So best way to explain it just straight off is with a diagram. Okay, so basically what we have is our camera, us, moi, you, me, walking along, let's say Oxford Street. We have a 35mm lens. It's a wide angle lens. Let's say for ease, we're shooting film. 400 ISO, let's say HP5 plus, HP5 plus. So this is fixed for 24, 36 exposures. That's fixed, that's fixed. Our 35mm lens is going to give us a field of view of something like this, for example. We've set our aperture to f11. We could go f16, but that's right at the edge of what a lens can do. We could go f8, but it's going to give us a shorter zone of focus. So let's say, for example, we're going to focus at 6 feet. Let's make that a constant line. 6 feet. f11, focusing at 6 feet, will give us something like 4 feet. So a 2 foot of tolerance. So anything here will be out of focus, up to here, up to the 6 feet point where we focused, will give us a 2 feet tolerance. So let's say 4 feet. I'm not sure if that's exactly right, but let's say thereabouts. 4 feet, 6 feet. We've actually focused 6 feet and we have 4 feet here, which gives us 2 feet of tolerance. Okay, we focus at 6 feet, but we've got f11 and we're looking down on our lens now, and f11 focused at 6 feet gives us a depth of field of, say, 12 feet. Yeah, approximately 12 foot. That's, you know, that's probably going to be about right, actually. So we can say confidently that anything not closer than 4 feet, but as far away as 12 feet, will give us this zone. That's why it's called zone focusing. Anything in this zone will be in focus. All we have to do is lift that camera to our eye, point, compose, shoot. We don't need to focus the ring because we've preset our 35mm lens to 6 feet, which means we have a buffer of 4 feet and it's focused all the way up to 12 feet. We just know that. Now, if we are not very good at judging distances, we can say 4 feet is probably going to be about the distance of a car. 1.2 meters or something like that. I don't know. It's going to be about the distance, the width of a car. So we can actually use some symbolic references to give us an idea of what that distance will be. We just have to make sure that nothing comes closer than that to our camera. So 4 feet to 12 feet. That's actually, we've got 8 feet of tolerance. 8 feet of tolerance. Now, again, work that out. What's 8 feet? That's 2 feet more than a tall person. Get a frame of reference in your head. Work out what 8 feet is. Because that's kind of going to be slightly, more or less, what you're going to get. Now, that's focal distance. That's not even in shot, is it? That's focal. Okay. Now, if we want to be even more safe, let's say we're a little bit nervous of judging our distances, what we can do, and I'll show you on the lens in a minute, we can focus to 12 feet. Double the distance, basically. We've focused to 12 feet. That'll give us a 6 foot tolerance. So that 4 becomes 6. Yeah, 12 and 6. So anything from 6 feet will be good. No longer 12 feet, but oh, we're off the page. To infinity. 6 feet, as far as the eye can see, will be in focus. All we have to do is make sure nothing comes closer than 6 feet, a tall person distance from the lens. And then we know, bang, we can get anything as quick as we like. That's just about us and how good our reactions are. But we know, as long as nothing is in front of or closer than 6 feet to the lens, closer than 6 feet, everything is going to... That is hyperfocal distance. That's hyperfocal distance focusing. And that's the only difference. We have a far greater zone. We have an infinite zone. of focus. Everything's going to be in focus from 6 feet onwards. So that's what it is on paper. On the camera itself, this is how it equates. So f11, that's our aperture ring, and we're going to use the index here. This is all about depth of field, really, but it's used or called zone focusing to implement this technique, if you like, to turn your camera into a point and shoot. So f11, yeah, got all these different f-stops. f11, that's wide open. f2, if we stop down, you can see that iris move, hopefully, and that's f11. That's f16. This lens moves in half stop increments, but f11 gives you quite a small hole. So it's sunny day, so you don't need loads of light coming in. Okay, now then, this is a 35mm lens. This 35mm Summicron lens, a Leica Summicron lens, and we have the index scale here. So typically what we have is a focusing ring here that has a tab. Okay, very important, that tab, for me anyway. But we've parked it at f11. We've already got our ISO 400, which we've put on the back of our camera. We've set that ISO, so that's going to remain constant. We can say, let's park it at 250th of a second. Shutter speed here, 250th of a second. 125, 250, 500. We could probably go to about 500 if it's a really sunny day. But let's go 250 because we're in England, where we know the weather can change at any moment. So this is our focusing ring. We are going to concern ourselves with these. This is our index scale, these white marks here. So f11, we're going to correlate here. Doesn't matter whether it's at 5.6, again, we've got these corresponding index marks here. So we're dealing with f11 because that's probably what we're going to use the vast majority of the time. f11. So where's f11? We've got 2.8, 5.6, f8, f11, and a mark that comes up towards here. This is our center line, the dot and that thicker line. So that's the middle of the lens. Okay, this is all off to the side. So if we go f11, f11, and symmetrically on the other side, f11. So we're creating a triangle, almost like an invisible triangle. If we go 5.6, or let's go 4, again, we're going to draw a triangle. Let's go 5.6 because 4 isn't on this scale. You have to imagine f4. They haven't actually, there's not enough room for them to put f4, but they have got 5.6. So again, we're going to draw a triangle. Not literally, but we're going to imagine that, and we're going to, these are going to correspond and give us our distance, so that we understand what the camera is doing, or what the lens is doing, perhaps more importantly. But let's go back to f11 because that's going to give us a lot of tolerance, a lot of play. Now, if we focus these orange numbers, which are feet, and you've got the white ones in meters, but let's just deal with feet because that's different to all the other white markings. Let's just go feet. Sorry to all you metric people, but for simplicity's sake, let's do feet. Orange numbers, we're moving, and we're going to go, oh, there's the mark, 6 feet, thank you very much. Let's see what f11 will give us in distance. So here we go. We go f11 mark here, and we're going to go bingo, 12 feet. So that's one distance, and that's going to be our furthest distance because it's on the right hand side. On f11 on this side is going to give us bingo, 4 feet. You seeing that? 4 feet and 12 feet. So that's a difference of 8 feet. 6 feet, we're actually, our subject matter is 6 feet away from us. 6 feet away from us. But we know that F11, if we follow this number, that gives us a 2 feet tolerance. Because we focus at 6 feet, but actually we know that 2 feet in front of that 6 feet, which is 4 feet, will also be in focus. And if we go all the other way as well, to F11 over here, what's going to be in focus behind the subject matter, 12 feet away. So between 4 feet and 12 feet, that's 8 feet is going to be in focus when we focused at 6 feet. So we can say anything actually further away than 4 feet is going to be good. Anything up to 12 feet. Now, what I was going to say that I forgot earlier on is that if you struggle to understand what 4 feet is, or 1.2 meters, I do, we can say that's probably about the width of a car. Maybe 1 meter. 1.2 meters. No, let's say 1.2 meters. It's about the width of a car. So if you have a visual reference as to what, as to what 4 feet is, about the width of a car. 12 feet, well, get something else. That's 2 people 6 feet tall away from you. That is our zone. That's the zone that we've got to work within. That's what's going to give us acceptable levels of focus. Or let's not say acceptable levels of focus. Let's just say that's what's going to be in focus. Okay? But what some people do with hyperfocal distance it is actually, we're going to go F11, but what we're going to do instead is, you see that little infinity marking here? This number 8. It's like it's not a number 8. It's just like two circles next to each other. I always think of it as a number 8 that's fallen over. But that's infinity. And what some people do is move that focusing ring, okay, to F11. So F11, follow that line, park infinity at it. Then they know that they're beyond their subject matter, and everything beyond their subject matter is going to be in focus. So then they go, well, what does that give you in front at F11? Follow it through. So now we're going to be focused at 12 feet, but we know at F11 that's going to be 6 feet. So nothing can come closer to the camera than 6 feet. We're focused at 12 feet, but we've got a tolerance here. We've got a depth of field, a tolerance of 6 feet. Nothing must come closer than a reasonably tall person distance, closer than that to your camera. As long as everything is further away than 6 feet, everything is going to be in focus. Nothing can come closer than 6 feet and you're good to go. Everything, as far as the eye can see, will be in focus. And that's hyperfocal distance. And that's what a lot of people like, because it just means that their zone is huge. It's from 6 feet to infinity is, well, infinity. It's massive. Nothing's going to be out of focus. At F11. If we go F16, no, let's not go F16. You can go F16 and then read off F16. You can do that, but let's not complicate it. You can do that in exactly the same way as we've done in F11. Let's not complicate it. Let's you're going to use F11 a lot of the time. let's just keep it at F11. Well, you could go F8. Again, read off these numbers and it will tell you what zone you will have to play with. Whether it's going to be a zone focusing, or whether it's going to be infinity, hyperfocal distance. Bingo. And, and that, in a nutshell, is what it is. Once you only have to do this once in a day, unless you live in England and the weather changes all the time. But if you've got constant sun, constant weather, and you've set it and you've got enough light, and you're shooting in the morning till dawn, this is going to be pretty much good for you. Works well. Works really, really well when you've got constant weather. A lot of countries have that. The UK doesn't. You can have sun 1 minute and then it can be overcast, then it can be raining, then you get some days that are more constant than others, obviously, but that's basically it in a nutshell. That's how you do it. That's how you work it out. And once you've worked it out, which the more you look at it, the more you work it out, the quicker it is, and it's you realise it's actually pretty damn simple. I've drawn diagrams, yes, to give you an idea, and I've pointed things out with a pen. But the best thing to do is get your own camera and then relay what I've said or what anybody else has said, and then you understand. And then you realise, oh, great, anything no closer than 6 feet to infinity? Whoa, that's stonking. That's absolutely amazing. I can just lift my camera, bang. Compose the photograph. I don't even have to touch my focus scale. Boom. If something comes closer than 6 feet, do you know what I do? That's where your tab is. I said that tab's very important. If something comes closer than 6 feet, pull it that way to there. So it's a feel. You're going from sort of 25 to, well, hang on. Yeah, 25 to 25 past. I mean, I don't think of it like that because I'm the opposite way around, but 12 feet is round. I always know 12 feet is round about there. 25 to, and if something comes closer, guess what? All I have to do is that, and I'm good. One little movement. I don't even have to look. I don't even have to focus. It's just one little movement. Past 6 o'clock to there, and you're good. That's if anything comes closer than a person. Depends how you shoot. So, hopefully that's demystified it a little bit for you. I hope I haven't made it even more complicated. There are a few variables. As I've mentioned, how wide your lens is. The wider you go, the more tolerance you'll have. And also your sensor. If you've got a 2/3 sensor or something like that, this is what I've told you is for full frame, a 35mm full frame sensor. So anything else will vary things a little bit, but you can still do it. Just have to take a couple more things into account. So that's looking a little bit wonky. And I think that's it. Do I use it? Well, do I recommend it? I absolutely recommend it. I recommend it for everybody to understand what it is and how it works and how simple it is, really. It's not difficult. It sounds a little bit difficult. It sounds a little bit complicated. It's difficult to explain, but in theory, it's a very simple thing. You just have to look on that scale and work out distance closest to the camera and furthest away from the camera. It's just about a zone, or whether you want infinity. That's pretty much it. And yes, I would 1000% recommend it, or recommend understanding it. Whether you use it or not is, would I recommend you using it and, forever and a day? That's just down to you. Do I use it? No, I never use it. I have used it. I would say that it's very important to get good at it. It does take a little bit of practice because there can be a few variables like weather, where you live, what you shoot, all this kind of stuff. But get good at it. And it's not difficult to get over that line, but practice with it, get good with it, understand it, then decide if it works for you. And my criteria for whether it works for you is whether it's giving you more keepers. Just completely depends on the sort of thing that you shoot. I like to tailor every single photograph and attune things to that particular photograph that I'm taking. I don't try and reinvent the circle or anything like that. But for me, focusing is so quick anyway. This takes a little bit of practice. Zone focusing takes a little practice, but so does focusing. I know exactly. My swing wheel on my focusing ring is so short anyway, because of that 0.7 minimum focusing distance that you tend to get on most Leica lenses, so that you're not having to go all the way around. That's why they do it. It's a very short thing, so you kind of you know where you are all the time with it. It becomes very automatic. So it's almost muscle memory. It's almost feel about where that tab is. Anything close is round about here. 6 feet and then beyond is, and if something's walking away from you and and they're moving away, you can just get with your patch very quick. And so, if it took me 5 seconds to focus, then yeah, I'd definitely be thinking that's too slow. Like, I'm missing shots because of it. It takes me a fraction of a second to focus, and I know I've got focus. I don't have to be thinking zones. I don't have to be thinking distances. But that's just me, and that's the way I shoot. I like depth of field. I like things going out of focus. Not the subject matter, but beyond the subject matter, to separate things out. It depends, it's just finding something that works for you. And this, zone focusing, high focal distance focusing, works for a lot of people, or they feel it works for them, and that's absolutely cool. There's no right or wrong. It's just, what's right for you, as I say. But you can have a lot of fun with it, and I just think it's worth knowing anyway. Just if for no other reason than you disregard it, then at least you know that you're not missing anything. You're not missing an absolute gem and way of working that absolutely, cranks up your list of keepers. If it does that, great. It doesn't with me. It just doesn't. I tried it, and I've tried it for about 6 months. That's all I did, apart from when I was inside or if I was using a 50mm lens. I'm talking about in the early days. Really pleased I did it, but just disregarded it because I just thought, it's great, but it's not working for me. It's changeable weather in England. I think I'd probably use it, as I said earlier. I think I'd probably use it if I lived in Arizona or I don't know, California, or somewhere where the summers were constantly hot sunny days. We're in June right now. It's been gorgeous today, but now the clouds are over. There's a little bit of blue sky, and it causes a little bit more anxiety when things are constantly moving and changing all the time. If I shot digitally, I could just park it on. I do occasionally shoot digitally, so I could, in theory, put my ISO at auto, and that would account for all the variations in weather. But then I'm so used to focusing. I have my way. And practically always aperture priority, focus, bang, compose, bang. And so that's just the way that's just the way I'm used to doing it. And it works for me. I never feel out of sorts with it. And hopefully you get to a point where you know what works for you. Like I say, no right or wrong. Hopefully that will give you a bit of clarification. Sorry, it is quite a handful to be able to explain it properly. So apologies if I've been a bit long-winded or whatever. Just done it in my way, and that might relate to some people better than the way other people have tried to explain it. Any questions, anything I've missed out, please feel free. I will get back to you. I will absolutely get back to you. You know, I don't have auto cue. I don't use scripts or anything like that. So it's very possible I've missed something out. Even if I haven't missed anything out and you just don't understand something, feel free to ask. And hey, I guess one other thing that's just come to mind, I think it's probably easier to do with a rangefinder camera. With an SLR, you're looking through the lens, so you can get fooled into thinking that something is out of focus. Even though you've focused on it, your depth of field scale is telling you that actually beyond that subject matter should be in focus, but through the lens it looks out of focus. So it can sort of play tricks. I mean, it's not, you have to go by the scale. It's just because you're looking through a lens at the world instead of a window, an unencumbered piece of glass. Beautiful, bright, unencumbered piece of glass that doesn't show depth of field or anything like that. It's just a plain, very bright window. But yeah, I think that's generally the case. But you know, I'm sure there are lots of very good zone focusing SLR photographers around that understand that and use it accordingly. So, yep. That's it. I'm going to close off there. The next one is going to be the Sunny 16 rule, just because I haven't done it yet. Not because there aren't a million vlogs out there already, but at least I can say I've dotted that I sort of thing. So, as usual, thank you very much for stopping by, and see you for the next one.